While we may be a set specialising in construction, that doesn't mean that we need you to be a construction expert before you get here. We will teach you the skills we need. What we are looking for is intellectual ability, the ability to work in teams, and your advocacy skills.
What those selection criteria mean, we're basically just looking for smart, nice people who can work well with their clients and who have the skills that are essential to be successful for a career at the bar.
So we did a big consultation, including with candidates, possible potential candidates, as well as our actual candidates, in 2020. And we tried to incorporate that feedback into all the aspects of our process. And one of the most consistent messages we got was that people self-select away from applying to particularly commercial sets because they look at the website and they think, I'm not seeing anyone that's anything like me. And so they actually decide, without even trying, I won't make it. Or they put it down their list of applications, so they're not putting the most effort into it. And they said that we could overcome that to some degree. Obviously, it's just a fact of life that 25 years ago, the bar was extremely homogenous. It's much less homogenous now. And I would say to anybody watching this video who's thinking of applying somewhere, go and look at the junior tenants when you're deciding whether to apply, rather than taking it from the most senior ones. We have also tried to be very, very transparent about the process.
If I was going to recommend where you should apply for Pupillage, I would obviously say apply for Keating. But I think the most important thing to do is that wherever you're applying, make sure that you know what that set's about, that you think that their culture is for you and also their practice areas are for you, and do a lot of research before you apply. When you're writing an application, you should ensure that you're hitting the points in that mark scheme. You're tailoring your application to our mark scheme and to the ethos that we put out as a Chambers. My second tip for applying for Pupillage at any set, not just Keating, would be make sure you answer the question. There are so many times that I'm reading Pupillage applications and people put good answers, but they're not answering the actual question we're asking, and so you can't give them the mark. And I think that's an easy thing that you can rectify, as any applicant can. Just read the question, reread it, write your application, and then get someone else to read your answer and check you actually answered the question.
I think it's very important that your personality comes across and it shines through, and that starts from the pupillage application form all the way to the interview process. And part of this is practice, but also part of this is perhaps taking time to make sure that you allow time for other people to read your pupillage application form. This can be a friend, this can be a family member, and ask them whether when they read that application form, does that sound like you, or does that read like any other generic job application form?
I've had some opportunities to practice advocacy, but actually the real emphasis at the construction and generally commercial bar is on written advocacy, and this is something which I think people often overlook, especially at the application stages. Obviously there will be opportunities to be on your feet, and those are exciting, and they're one of the funnest aspects of a job at the bar, but written advocacy is really the bread and butter of the job, and it's certainly what I enjoy most. And if I had any advice to applicants, it would be to think about written advocacy, because there'll be opportunities throughout your life where you'll have used it without realising it, and if there's any skill to hone before the application, then whilst making your application, it's, in my opinion, there's written skills.
You need to be committed to doing the best work you possibly can at all times, because we are the top set of what we do, so we're looking for outstanding candidates. And I suppose you need a little bit of that competence, the ability to be able to take some technical issues and to understand engineering principles, for example, architectural issues. But that can be learnt. I think for me, I thought maybe that would be the most difficult part of the job. But actually, if you've got a curious mind and you're intelligent enough to be able to take on new concepts, that's fine. In reality, what's key is getting on with people, because in our line of work, we have to work with solicitors, we have to work with lay clients who can be builders, architects, engineers, experts who cover the same sort of competencies, a whole range of people over the course of your career. And I think that's probably the most challenging thing for people, to be able to come into a room with such a mixed group of people and to galvanise that team and set them on a path towards winning the case. So for me, having somebody who has that ability to get on with people is crucial. But also the one thing that marks our very most successful candidates from least successful candidates is that willingness to sit down and learn about a case. Because if you have that tenacity to get into the detail and understand your brief, that is going to be the thing that marks the difference between success and failure.